Hello everybody, it is a gorgeous day here in Avalon, the big city on Catalina Island. So right now I am standing in front of that thing up on the hill. Look at that magnificent house. It's an idiosyncratic Queen Anne Victorian style with 3 stories and this really cool stonework on the bottom floor, and wearing it like a triangular hat is that cupola way up at the top. So this was built by a retired civil engineer named Peter Gano, and he had moved here from Pasadena very early on in Catalina's early development. Avalon was surveyed in 1887, and the following year Peter Gano moved in. He came over on his sailing boat, the Osprey, and he started building this house. Now, he was a very talented man, and so he developed an irrigation system, a way of getting water from local springs over to the site where he was building. You know, if you think about it, like, there was basically nothing here, just some tiny little bungalows. So his was one of the very first permanent homes, and he had to build up all the infrastructure himself. So he came over with his horse, Mercury. He devised this ingenious pulley system so that Mercury could be attached to a harness and walk up and down the hill leading up to the site and pull all the wood and the stones and, you know, all the building materials that Gano needed. Gano was a wonderful woodworker, and so a lot of the spindles and the balustrades and stuff was made on his lathe. His workshop was the bottom floor. While a lot of the design elements are pretty standard for a Victorian house, Gano was also a creative guy, so he would pay the local kids to go down to the beach and pick out nice little beach rocks and pieces of abalone and stuff, and he would integrate that into his design. Now, there are stories that are told about this house, and I'm no way of verifying if they're true, but a lot of people have said that Gano once had a paramour, and she didn't like the idea of living in this particular house, and their relationship soured, and he spent the rest of his life as a bachelor, and even took it one step further by banning women from entering the house at all. Gano left Catalina in 1921 and returned to the mainland. He was getting pretty old, and coincidentally, that was right around the time that William Wrigley had bought the entire island and had started developing it himself. So Gano sold it to the Giddings family, and they changed the name from Lookout Cottage, which was Gano's name, to the Holly Hill House, and that's how it's been known since. The current owners did a whole lot of work before they moved in to restore it to its original state. They also uncovered a lot of the very individual elements that Peter Gano built into it. So, for example, there were some stone and brick walls on the interior that had been covered over. There was an entire stairwell that was hidden behind a wall, and they opened that up to let in some more light and, you know, add another staircase. So one of the most distinctive buildings in the entire island, and perfectly restored relic of what Avalon looked like in its very early stages of development. Thanks for doing LA with me.